Hi, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I wanted to go over, just in case you fall into that minority of people that are interested in finding out what happens when you walk through the door of the hospital to bring into reality that decision that you and your wife have made, and that is to have a child. And in order to have the child, you're going to need a vasectomy reversal. Well, there are several different types of reversal and the way that they do them. One is to simply get a knot around the little pipe that is going to feed that live sperm, and to just tie it off. Others, they sever the thing and then tie them off. Okay, so that's as much as I know about the different techniques. I'm sure there possibly are more. They might clamp them, all other kinds of things. But assuming that you've made your decision and you feel good about it, you will require a little courage. I can tell you this. But let me describe what happens right from the very word go, right until the point where you can no longer easily cross your legs for a couple of days. Okay? So, you find a surgeon. If you've got any sense at all, it will make sense to go with someone who is an experienced surgeon in this particular type of surgery, because the pipe that they are going to sever and reconnect a little bit, for instance, if it's one of those vasectomies where they've just knotted it, that part calcifies or builds material up, genetic material on that tie, and that part of the pipe becomes no good. So they have to snip that out. So they've now got two ends. They have to join those. Now, depending on what kind of a vasectomy that you've had, that will affect how many hours that you are in surgery. Also, if you've had a very recent divorce and a very recent vasectomy, that will be a much simpler operation than the one that I had, because I'm 77 and my vasectomy was over 25 years ago. So you go and you find yourself a surgeon, and then go and meet the surgeon and satisfy yourself that this is somebody that you will trust to go poking around in your nether regions and snipping and tying and stitching. How is he going to do it? As I said, the pipe that actually feeds the live sperm into the penis is little more than a hair, little more than a human hair. That has to be stitched, so they have to do that with a microphone. All right? You found your surgeon. You feel confident that he is going to be able to do the job, and that should be based on the knowledge that he has done it many times before. Otherwise, you might as well go in and have somebody who does it for trading stamps. Don't do it. Trust the man that you eventually decide can do the job. Now, once he has examined you, which you will have, you book the date, then you go in and see the surgeon. This is how it happened for me. You go in and see the surgeon and you have an examination. That's one of those where he will actually examine your private parts, and whatever it is that he does, poking around and pinching and prodding, tells him something unbelievably about how difficult the surgery is about to be. So that's a couple of days before you go in and do the deed. I've jumped ahead a little bit, because the surgeon will have required you to have a battery of tests. You'll need an EEG, you'll need a blood test which takes into account about 3 or 4 different things that could be right or wrong. So let's assume that you've carried out all of the requirements of the surgeon, and then you see him and you have your examination. He knows what to expect before he even opens you up. So then the next thing is you arrive with a clean pair of underwear and a support that they wear in sports, a sport support which will hold your family jewels firm after it has been operated on. Now, the next thing, of course, is that you arrive at the registration for the hospital. You've decided, you've agreed to the price, you'll have to fill out a number of forms and sign them. I don't suppose anybody ever takes the hour and a half that it would need to be able to read through those forms, but I signed anyway because I'm there to have the vasectomy, not to decide not to. We'll also have assumed that at this point you have survived all of the opposition that you have to having this surgical procedure done. Now, when I saw my doctor, I said to him, we have done the math. We know that the older that I am, there is less chance of the actual procedure being a success, that it doesn't guarantee a child, and we have decided that whatever the chances are, that we'll rely on some kind of divine intervention that will allow us to have a child. If you think that this is not realistic, by the way, think again, because I know people that have tried and tried and tried to have a child and been unsuccessful. So whatever it is that stops a perfectly healthy couple from having a child, there is something there which is stopping that from happening. Now, they always say that the biggest block to having what you want usually comes from within yourself, whether you can have what it is that you say you want. So we'll tidy all of that up and do the God, the Lord, heaven, hell, religion, all of that up into one tidy bundle and say, it's up to you how you want to describe it, whether it's down to good wishes, good vibes, negative and positive thinking. All of that can be tidied up and put to one side. That's your deal. That's how you think about things, not how everybody else thinks about them. Now, the couples that I have known that have tried and tried to have a child and failed have gone in for in vitro because they are perfectly healthy, but they just can't seem to make it happen. They go for the in vitro and they go many times. I've known one couple who went 3 times, and I've had people write to me since we have had this announcement of our own and said, we tried in vitro, we tried several times and it didn't work. Now here's the irony. The desire to have a child is so strong, but so is the resistance to having that child is equally, if not more, strong or stronger than the desire to have the child. You may have great internal disagreements with yourself about whether it's right or wrong, and obviously you have to reconcile these. Now, the couples that I've known gave up after they'd had in vitro several times because that ain't cheap and it ain't pleasant. They gave up and they went out. Such was their desire to have a child, they adopted a girl. No sooner had they done that and were happily settled with that child that they conceived of their own, and then went on to conceive 2 or 3 times more. So what you think is very, very important. Now let's get to, we finished the forming, the forms, all of the signs, all of that's finished, and you're in a small cubicle getting out of your clothes and into one of those extremely humiliating hospital gowns where as soon as you turn or start walking away and everybody's looking at your ass. So let's get past that one too. Eventually you will be led by someone into a operating room. Now, I've missed out a little step I've missed out again, and that was our surgeon asked us the night before to take 3 drugs, 2 of one and 1 of another, and apparently that was to make it so that we wouldn't be getting up in the middle of a surgery and say, hold on, can I just take a pee? So they handle that with a drug, and that's your preparatory drugging up to going into the theatre. Now, in the Filipino theatre, which I cannot speak highly of, more highly of, because it was so incredible. It's perfectly clean. Everything is just beautifully done, and the staff are beyond criticism. They ultimately professional. They are incredibly well trained and know exactly what they're doing. So you'll be led and put onto the operating table. Now, in my particular case, their own way of doing this is to allow a preparatory period before the surgeon comes in to do the job. And I was put onto the table, on the operating table, and then I had the various electrodes. In fact, we had one of those electrodes here, and they put them here and here, and they have you all wired up so that they know exactly what's going on with your internal organs, you know, inconsequential organs like the heart. So they also have you wired up for, well, hooked up for blood pressure. And in my particular case, the blood pressure was taken every 5 minutes. And so I lay on, judging by every 5 minutes having my blood pressure taken, I lay on the bed for 20 minutes to half an hour. Then finally, they put a screen in front of you just below your chest, so you're just here like this and you can't see anything. What you don't know won't hurt you. So that, given that, they then shave. Now, once you're shaved, then the surgeon is ready to come in. The surgeon will come in, but before that, the anaesthetist will have spoken to you and told you what's going to happen. Now, in my particular case, it was a husband and wife team. The husband was a surgeon and the anaesthetologist was his wife. So she came in, she told me exactly what they were going to do. They put catheters into my hand and apparently into the back, but of course I don't know exactly where that all went on. And then they give you a sedative that relaxes you so that you're not under, you're still awake, but you're just chilled a little. And then they start to introduce these epidural drugs, and they go in, and what it feels like is like a cool liquid on your back. It's not painful. Having the catheters put in is a little bit painful, but nothing that you can't stand. So they finally get it so that you can't feel your toes. So effectively from about the waist down you are anesthetized. Then the surgeon will come in and you're off to the races. So during that time, what happens? 4 or 5 hours. I think that mine was 5 hours, I'm not sure. During that 5 hours, the anaesthetist is with you. My anaesthetist, Dr. Lasaya, she was there all the time, talking to me, asking me about all things that would make the time go easy. And then if she thought that I could do with just relaxing and giving a rest, then that was attended to as well. The 5 hours didn't seem that long, and finally I was able to be transferred onto another gurney, and they took me to the post-op room. And the post-op room has a full staff, and here once again I can't speak highly enough of the staff. Took care of every single one of my needs before I had the needs, and constantly coming over saying, are you okay? And this wasn't just me being treated special, because, well, I'm not special, am I? I'm just another patient. but I saw the way that they worked with other patients that were in the same room. It's not a private room. It was about 5 beds, and there were several other people who were recovering from other operations, and they were there too. Now, they treated them with every respect, with every consideration. Very, very loving, caring staff. Wonderful. And then you're there until, effectively, you're there until you can walk and pee. It's as simple as that. As soon as you're able to pass urine, then if you can get off and walk, you can do it. Now, why is it so important? And why would it be any kind of a difficulty? Well, because it's not your head that's been drugged. It's your body, it's your legs. For a long time, you cannot feel your toes, you can't feel the joints. Nothing's working down there. And everything hinges, when you think about it, on the pelvis. And that's that center point. Everything comes from there, either going south or going north. So, finally, when you are unwobbled, you can go home. And I was taken in a wheelchair out to where we could get a taxi. And that sensation was unpleasant, because you feel like you're never going to walk again, because you can't even get up a step without one of your legs giving way, and that's what happened with me. But the staff there know that this is the way that it goes, so they're there at your elbow to help you to get dressed, all of it. They're there to help you, and they do. Now, since then, I've had a few drugs to take, and that has led me to where now I can feel my toes and I can walk without wobbling. I'm still in the process of recovering, and those two, well, no one size fits all, but let's say that your family jewels, or however they are described, your bits and pieces, your meat and 2 veg. The 2 veg, I can assure you, will be twice the size that you're used to seeing them, because there's been effectively what is an injury, and that has to heal. And you get cream to handle that, an antibiotic cream, and you put that on, and there might be a tiny bit of blood. You get over it. It's a cut, and it heals. So that brings us up to what I know, and that is right now I'm walking again, and we're doing fine, and we'll be going home in a couple of days. So if there is anything that you want to know that you think I may have missed, you can always message me. I always respond to my messages, and as I say before, if I haven't in your case, send the message again, and I will get back to you. So this is a foreigner in the Philippines. My chat has been about the vasectomy and the reversal. The rights and wrongs of it, if there are any such rights and wrongs, are on another video which preceded this. So right now, thanks for looking in. This is a foreigner in the Philippines, and I really truly hope that this helps you to get out of the way any fears that you might have about taking this. I honestly, the worst, most painful part of the whole thing was just having needles put in and catheters arranged. How bad is that? Not very bad at all. The rest of it, I didn't feel. Mind you, as I've said to someone else, it may be a while before I entertain trying to do the splits, and it's only after 24 hours that I've been able to cross my legs. But I think this is a small price to pay. Thanks for looking in. Please subscribe. Bye for now.